Hello everyone, it's getting to that time of year now, Christmas time, where we all get to spend it with our family. Oh wait. Well, we got video games, so, close enough. To get into the spirit, I thought I'd wear this hat. Mainly because I'm very lazy and I can't be bothered to put decorations up, even if it's tinsel around the guitars. That and I can't really leave the house. Oh well, got the hat. So, outside of the depressing stuff, Nintendo actually released a new Hyrule Warriors game, which was quite a surprise to everyone. Especially that it's based off Breath of the Wild, which is essentially, it's the flagship Zelda thing at the moment, so it's a bit of a risk, but fair play. But today, we're not going to be talking about that game. No. You see, there was the first Hyrule Warriors that was re-released for the Switch. And I thought, while we're on the subject of elves and Christmas, I know they're not elves, but screw it, let's do a Hyrule Warriors review as well. Now, I thought it'd be best to get it out of the way. I've never played a Warriors game outside of the Nintendo skin ones. This also includes the Wii U version of Hyrule Warriors, which I think I bought it day one and actually played. I have no idea how I found it, but I just did. But this includes Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors. So I can't compare Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition to any other Warriors game other than them. But like I said, I can compare it to the Wii U version, so screw it, I'm going to do that. Right, first off, what's the gameplay like? It is a simple hack and slash game where you mow down thousands of enemies, complete small tactical missions, and fight bosses in wide open maps with various characters. In this game's case, it's mostly Zelda characters with a handful of new characters made just for this game. And now the word characters kind of feels redundant, it's annoying at this point. Oh well. If I was going to compare this game to anything, it kind of reminds me of a character action game such as Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, but simplified with its combat instead. You can even level up and upgrade your characters outside of fights just like a character action game. And just like any other character action game, see what I mean by the word character being redundant? The combat is extremely satisfying, but for a different reason. Instead of pulling off cool combos and successions for the visual flair, the satisfaction comes from obliterating 100 enemies in one big ass special attack. Now don't get me wrong, there are a lot of visual flair in this game. Each character gets a few special attacks based around them. For example, Link gets a cool few moves with his sword, and Sheikah uses her, spoiler alert for a 20-year-old game, Sheikah uses her harp's music to attack monsters. In the matches themselves, you're put into a fairly large open map. You have to do various tasks in the map, such as taking over enemy camps, stopping enemy messengers while protecting your own, fighting bosses, or solving really simple puzzles. In theory and to a certain degree in practice, this works, but I can be deep into fighting some guys and have a few tasks thrown at me and not know about it. Another problem as well is that these tasks stack up, and only the last one received will be put into the game's HUD. There's also the problem that there's no voice acting. Voice acting could have easily told the tasks, but no, the only voice acting is in the level's loading screens, weirdly enough. Instead, the game just simply gives you speech boxes, and they easily blend into the UI, making it very difficult to follow what's being said. If you just want to see a good way of this being done, Doom Eternal is the perfect game for it. When it first showed its multicoloured UI, people weren't happy about it. Now while you could change the colour in the settings, what the colours actually done was make the UI understandable in the hectic fight. You knew which colour meant what, such as blue was health and armour was green and so forth. Hyrule Warriors desperately needed this implemented into its UI if it's not going to have voice acting. Now, anyone here for Zelda is going to be disappointed. Other than the Zelda skin, there's very little to do with the gameplay here. Probably why it's not called The Legend of Zelda Warriors. That and it kind of sounds shit. One note as well is that the Switch version has switchable characters and the ability to command the characters you're not playing as to go and do various tasks. I first saw this in the Fire Emblem Warriors game. The Wii U version didn't have that originally, which is a shame as the gamepad was made for this mode. It might have had it patched in later on, but I can't be bothered to look it up, and let's be honest, no one cares about a Wii U game at this point. Sadly, this feature is pretty underutilised on the account your allies are useless, but it does make it easier for you to have player characters in various parts of the map. There's also various modes in the game, but I just stuck to the story mode of the game, and trust me, you'll get your money's worth with that alone. There's also adventure mode, which is where you do various types of battles, but it's selected off of a recreation of the first Zelda map, which is pretty cool. If you get really into the gameplay of Hyrule Warriors, there's a fair bit to keep you interested. While it can be a bit repetitive, it is still fun and satisfying in short bursts. Pretty perfect for the Switch, to be quite frank. So what about the story? Honestly, I feel like it's irrelevant compared to other Zelda games. This game was made as a love letter to 3D Zelda, and the plot points are just excuses to get characters from them other games involved. Not inherently a bad thing in the end, especially considering the games are very focused on its warrior style hack and slash gameplay, but it's kind of a disappointment for what it could have been. I warn you about spoilers for the plot, but let's be honest, who cares? It starts with Zelda having a dream that all of Hyrule is consumed by darkness. She awakes to Impa, who is weirdly hanging around in Zelda's room. What was she doing there? Was she guarding her or trying to see if she could steal Zelda's clothes or something? I don't know. I don't think guards kind of stand in the room with them. Anyway, they talk about locating the hero to seal the darkness away while looking at Link practicing his sword fighting with the guards. Subtle with that one, weren't you guys? The castle then gets invaded by a dragon guy called Volga, and Link meets a fairy, which is the game's way for Link to speak to other characters. That's all the fairy is there for. After beating Volga, or losing to him as the cutscene shows, the Triforce of Courage awakens within Link, revealing he's the hero. They repelled the attackers only to learn Zelda has disappeared. The game reveals Ganondorf's soul was split into 4 parts that were sealed across time and the Master Sword. No viewers, I didn't jump a page there. This is shown right after the level. The game is really bad for its random info dumps. They then head to Korok Forest believing Zelda is there. During their journey they are saved by Sheik. Sheik's appearance is why I said this plot is just a backdrop. Sheik adds nothing to the story other than fan service. But again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It is very cool to play as Sheik. They eventually reach the forest, but instead of Zelda they meet Lana, a magic user who was made for this game. Lana reveals she's from the same clan as the witch who ordered the attack on Hyrule, Sia, who was unfortunately corrupted by Ganondorf. They all head to Sia to end this war, only to have the Triforce pieces that Link and Sheik own being stolen by Sia. She then brings the 3 main timelines to Twilight, Time and Sky into this world. The heroes split up. Link goes to the Sky and meets Sphere and fights Girahim. I believe that's how you pronounce his name, I haven't got a bloody clue. Lana heads to Twilight and meets Midna, Agatha and then fights Zant. During this process, Lana reveals she and Sia were the same person, a sorceress that watched over the Triforce before Ganondorf corrupted her. Lana represents the light, while Sia then represents the darkness. Kinda could have guessed that one, to be fair. Again, is this relevant to the story? Sia could have still been the sorceress on her own, and Lana could have been some random new character, or, well, she is, but I mean just unrelated to Sia essentially. It doesn't really affect the story. I suppose it could add character to Lana and Sia, a bit of a relationship between the two, but nothing's really done with it. It just amounts to Lana trying to help Sia and Sia saying bugger off to her. They don't really need to say they're both half a person to do something like that. There could just be any form of relation. Like, Lana could just be a good person and that's it. Simple as. Sheik and Impa go to Time and meet Durahin and Ruto. Yeah, I definitely butchered that one. And during the process, Sheikah reveals she's actually Zelda. I did not see that coming. Okay, I get why they did this twist. It's like fan service and all that, but considering they got the multi-timeline thing, how about this for a twist? Why not have Sheik be from the time era of Zelda and reveal she's here to save the Zelda of this game? You still get the fan service and it'll have some form of an impact on the story. And it would be a decent twist. Everyone knows Sheik's Zelda, but at least it'd be somewhat different without changing the twist. It's still Zelda, but it's not the Zelda we were expecting. That would be really cool, to be quite honest. Meanwhile, 3 of Ganondorf's soul fragments are freed, allowing him to be resurrected. He tries to toss Cere aside, only for Cere to send the Triforce fragments to their owners and locks Ganondorf away with her piece of the Triforce. Why though? If you could do that to Ganondorf with one piece of the Triforce, what could he have done when you had the whole set? So Link now gets the Master Sword and decides to face Cere again, only to lose because he didn't value friendship? That's just stupid. So then they fight Cere again, who is using the last of her magic to strengthen her army. Link beats her, and then Game tries to have a sad moment where she dies in Lana's arms. They tried giving Cere a Darth Vader ending but forgot to give her some form of redemption. Hyrule is returned to normal and the time travellers who helped out go home. But it's not. Turns out Link never put the Master Sword back, allowing Ganondorf's last soul fragment to be free, finally completing him. Why couldn't the Ganondorf done that earlier? For plot reasons? Oh bloody hell, now the game cares about plot. But in an interesting twist, we now play as Ganondorf taking over Hyrule. While this moment is short, it is brilliant. Ganondorf feels as strong as you expect him to be and completely destroys Link, Lana and Zelda. It is rather fun, I ain't gonna lie. Of course Ganondorf wins, making Link and the others decide to fight his generals, which were Zant and Girahim. But during the process, this leads to Lana recalling back the time traveller characters so they can all help out and fight, and then they all finish off Ganondorf together. This time, Link returns the sword and it ends. Except then the DLC happened. It's just basically a Wind Waker fan service, which I am not complaining about because Wind Waker is probably my favourite Zelda. And the DLC also brings Cere back as a good guy to give Lana a happy ending. This story is dumb and it's just a set piece for the game. What's worse is that it's actually got some good ideas. There's moments in the game such as Impa interacting with Sheik. Imagine the tension of Zelda having to hide herself from her best friend while she worries about her, and at the same time being resented as Sheik for not telling her about Zelda. What about the time travellers seeing this new Zelda and Link? How would you react if your mate was somehow in the future but it was an entirely different person? Hell, there's a DLC story with a girl who believes she's the actual hero, not Link. That would have been an interesting story to tell. Hell, with all these Zelda timelines put together, you don't have a single Link interacting with each other. That would have been something interesting to see. The idea of that alone could have been an entire game. You got 2 Zeldas in this game as well, thanks to the Wind Waker DLC with Tetra, but they don't interact with each other. Also, I know I've talked about voice acting earlier, but I genuinely believe this was the game that made Nintendo put voice acting into Breath of the Wild. The cutscenes are pretty good, but the lack of voice acting is really off-putting. Right, final verdict. If you want a fun hack and slash game, this is the game. There's plenty of content and you'll be having a complete ball with it. From what I've heard, you can get about 1,000 hours of worth of gameplay out of this if you really squeeze it. But if you want a good story, this is not the game. Right, join me next week, hopefully on Christmas Day, where we will be unboxing the new Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity together. Thank you all for watching. I hope you liked the video, so give us a like and subscribe if you want to see more content. Bye!